One of the concepts that we obviously look at when we're teaching the classes is body-mind integration, which is something that you've taught for a lot of years.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to talk a little bit about what that actually means for the average person during the day.
Right. If you've watched any athlete, especially over these Olympics, you'll realise that the people use words like I've got to be in the zone, I've got to be in the now, or whatever. And basically what that's doing is taking the brain to an active preparedness, almost not fight or flight. It's an active instinctual preparedness. So if you watch a horse, it's grazing. A horse won't let anything within 200 yards of it. So its precocious nature is one ear is always turning, and it can turn its ear listening for sounds. It's always watching, and if anything comes close, it will just naturally start to move away. That's its precocious nature. So it's always in zone, acutely aware, but not at any stress. You know, for us to be aware, we think we have to be hyper switched on, but proper true awareness is just actually being in a very relaxed state, being in preparedness for whatever's going to happen next. So our autonomic system makes us jump out the way of something we thought was a snake. We don't see the snake and then jump. That's a conscious cognitive activity. So we need to trust much more this innate responsibility that the body has. And so that's called being in zone, which if you measured the brainwave activity at that time is called alpha. So self-hypnosis, meditative techniques, any mindfulness technique takes you to that place where you actually fill the mind rather than empty the mind. The mind, as Hatsumi once described it when I asked him about meditation, he said the mind must be full of the universe but empty of it as a void, which was paradoxical and made me really think. But he said, why do you want to empty your mind? Your mind has to be full of everything. And I thought that would make it too busy. But now when you understand mindfulness, you can smell the flowers, you can feel the vibrations, you're getting all these oscillations and senses coming into the body. 3 million bits of information go sensorially to the autonomic brain, and 30 motor reflexes go out to the muscles to keep us posturally active. So mindfulness is having an appreciation of those 3 million bits of information in, and then moving from that concept of stillness in response to a natural situation.
And is that something that we would have had as ancient people and living in an ancient environment? Is that something that we would have had naturally, or is that something that we've lost?
It's a natural evolvement. It's not something that we've evolved. It was already there. We're learning now to use it. Psychologists and psychiatrists and mindfulness and all sorts of people who study these brainwaves and know the usefulness of them, recovery after strokes, all that kind of thing. So it's always been there. What we're doing now is become instructed. So years ago, when we were much more natural, we wouldn't need to go into fight or flight until something came around the corner that made us go into fight or flight. So our mindfulness would be basically on the surroundings of what we can gather, what we can pick, what we can make, what we can eat, how we can make shelters for ourselves, the terrain we have to move around in and climb. So that zone would have been our constant awareness, because we didn't have anything else to distract us.
So is this natural, what you would call mindfulness or trance, something that is sort of evident throughout the day naturally? Absolutely.
When we're in a supermarket and we're imagining what to make for dinner, you're gazing at this, you're preparing a meal, you're not just looking at a tin of beans. When you're driving a car, you're basically on automatic. I talk to people and they say, I hardly realise I can't remember the journey between here and there, yet there were obviously cognitively mindfulness of cars zipping by. What we fail to do a lot of the time is understand that process is the one we want in other skills. And then we try to do the skill, so we switch off this right brain, make it cognitively hard for ourselves, make it mechanically hard for ourselves. Having that mindfulness keeps the cross pattern going, keeps you in trance, and that's the state. So it's about being able to transfer it from normal day skills by identifying it, and also being taught how to drift in and out of this trance state, because it's the most useful part of sleep as well, and recovery. So the body recovers in alpha waves. It's the best part of sleep and the sleep cycle in alpha waves. And so that's something you can just bring into that mindfulness of the daily life.
And is that also involved in the breathing aspect?
Absolutely. Our cardiorespiratory rate is linked to that. If you watch an anxious person, this happened, they're all breathing up here. You watch a calm person, you're going to breathe down here, so you're using the whole of the lungs, and that way you're making, as we breathe properly, the diaphragm is actually massaging all of our internal organs. It's making the heart work better. The cardiovascular rate is all linked to respiration and movement, and so we should always be moving inside of that same sphere of influence and not actually stepping outside of the bubble in any of those components.
Yeah, and these skills are universally, can be taught to anyone of any age.
Absolutely, it's our heritage tool. So once you learn these skills, we innately go, I already knew that. Hatsumi always said about ninjutsu was, you don't learn ninjutsu, what you have to do is learn all of the things that are stopping you doing it well now.
Yeah.
And so you get rid of those limitations.
Yeah.